It's the highest profile unsolved case in the nation. It's been the subject of many theories and investigations, none of which have resulted in a successful arrest. On December 26, 1996, 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey was found dead in her family's home in Boulder, Colorado. Her parents, John and Patsy Ramsey, had reported her missing early that morning. Patsy Ramsey found a lengthy, handwritten ransom note in the house addressed to her husband, John. About 7 hours after police arrived to investigate the kidnapping, JonBenét's body was found hidden behind a latched door in the basement of the home. And now, a convicted pedophile has written incriminating letters. His name is Gary Oliva. Tonight, we will take a look at those letters and the original ransom note with our experts to see if the handwriting is a match. Plus, we'll speak live with the man who received those letters from Oliva as we investigate the unsolved murder of JonBenét Ramsey. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Get ready. This hour, we're going to take a look at some information, some evidence, and try to see if there's anything that gets us closer to an answer in the JonBenét Ramsey case. And, you know, this is an unsolved case, and it's one of those murders where everyone has a theory, right? A lot of people have theories and have thrown them out through the years, from DAs to investigators to podcasters to people producing specials on TV. So many have taken a look at the evidence that's been made public and revealed. And so many have gone in different directions with all of it. They have. I mean, even within law enforcement, there were like two schools of thought on what happened to this little girl. Now, like I said, everyone has theories, and there have been some relatively recent, and I say relatively recent, this is a very old case, but relatively recent television programs that have taken a look at it. And in one particular case, at the end of the program, it seemed like there was a conclusion by the experts who looked at this that it was someone within the family. That resulted in a defamation case, which, trust me, was not won by the network that produced the show. There was a settlement in that case. That didn't necessarily resolve anything, but that's the way this case has gone, right? People have been very passionate about their views, and John Ramsey and the family from the beginning said, no, it's not us. It's not us. But there was a lot of focus on the family from the beginning. And that may have thrown this whole thing off the tracks a little bit, because we still don't have an answer. Like, how could you focus on a certain set of suspects from the beginning, yet never come up with enough evidence to bring them into a courtroom? And I know that the original prosecutor had gone after him, looked like things were moving in that direction, but it didn't end up that way. Didn't end up that way. Now, I remember at Court, when I was at Court TV, early on in my career at Court TV, there was a huge moment when John Mark Carr, who was this guy? This bizarre man made this confession, and everyone thought, this is it. This is it. Brought him back from overseas. I think he was in Thailand. He had confessed to all of this, was brought into court. At the time, it was the biggest moment in the history of Court TV, the first time that he was brought into a courtroom here in the United States. And it turned out that that was a false confession. You know, they looked at him, they looked at where he was, what he knew, everything, and the pieces just didn't fit. Trust me, they wanted the pieces to fit, but they didn't. And in high-profile cases, you will get false confessions. It's par for the course. It happens. That's why investigators always hold back some information that presumably only the killer would know. So when they get all these confessions, they can somehow corroborate or verify that, oh yeah, you know, he or she knew something that nobody else knew in this case. That wasn't the case with John Mark Carr. So now we're dealing with this other confession. I know it's been making the rounds for a while, but it's a guy named Gary Oliva. All right? He likes pictures of little kids, okay? child pornography. We know that for a fact, okay? So that gets him into the, into the sphere of people who could potentially be responsible for all this. Now, he's written a series of letters, including ones where he has admitted taking the life of JonBenét Ramsey. He's in custody right now. But he sent these letters, and the question is this for real? Is this a real confession, or the deranged mind of a man making a false confession, like John Mark Carr did years ago? And that's what we're going to look at tonight on this show. That's what we're going to look at, and get the backstory, and get some facts, and try to put the pieces together here. So let's begin with the letter. He wrote a letter to a friend of his, a friend, acquaintance, former classmate. His name is Michael Vail. And in that letter he wrote, "I never loved anyone like I did JonBenét, and yet I let her slip and her head bashed in half, and I watched her die. It was an accident." Okay? That's one of many letters that Gary Oliva has written through the years, to Michael Vail. So I want to get the backstory on this man, Gary Oliva, and the friend, classmate he was writing to. What's the story behind the letter, behind this confession? And so joining me tonight, folks, from Ventura, California, the man who received those letters from Gary Oliva, his former classmate, Michael Vail. Michael, I just didn't know how to describe it. I didn't want to say friend, but like he's sending you letters, and I know classmate, acquaintance. How would you describe your relationship now and years ago with this man, Gary Oliva?
Well, really, there's three parts to that story. The first part would be pre-96. The second part, then there would be 96, and then anything after 2016. But in the beginning, I went to a very small high school, and everybody knew everybody there. And Gary was what we called an orbiter. He just would orbit around our groups and stuff. So we were classmates. We knew everybody at school. There's probably 75 to 100 kids there at any given time. It was a rather small school.
Okay, so you describe him as an orbiter. Was he always a little different? Was there always, did you and your classmates sense that, one of these, classmates is not like the other?
Well, we didn't really, we were just kids. We didn't really know about that stuff. I didn't have any idea. We have a naivety, at the time, being just young kids. But of course, we knew there was something wrong with Gary. In fact, we called him Scary Gary. He was known for breaking into places and getting art supplies. I mean, he could break in and steal things, but he was definitely into stealing art supplies and things of that nature. I heard about the paintbrush, things like that. There's so many points that I have here. I have 25 points of what I would call circumstantial evidence.
Okay, let's get to that in just a minute. I just want to focus on how we got to these letters. So let's start with, when does he start writing to you, and what is the sort of the nature of the communication, and is it a back and forth, or is it a sort of a one-way street here?
Well, right after high school, I went off, got married, went to college, all that good stuff, and Gary stayed in touch with the mail, the U.S. mail, believe it or not. Back then, that's how we stayed in touch. So I was taking a TV and radio course, and I had access to this fantastic studio. So I was making these funny cassette tapes with all their sound effects and stuff. And Gary was one of the guys I'd pop on one of these cassette tapes. Well, he loved it. He mailed me back a cassette tape. And this went on for years, I'm going to say 16 years, getting cassette tapes and things from him and really not talking by telephone, which made that phone call in 96, very more scary.
Okay. So let's get to the phone call in 1996. This is when you say everything changes. And we know this is when JonBenét is murdered. So what was this phone call like? When was it? And what was said?
It was December 26th. It was almost midnight on the 27th. Would have been the morning of the 27th. Well, all of a sudden, it was the happiest time of my life. It really was. I just bought a house. I married my high school sweetheart, ironically, right? And then, yeah, things were going so great. And so my family went to sleep, and I remember it. You remember a phone call you get that's terrifying. You remember it. You remember the room you're in when you get that phone call. And I remember with the Christmas tree and everything. It was December 26th, and it was about midnight. And I get that phone call, and it's Gary's voice, and he's like, oh, I just heard, little girl, like it was the most terrifying. I'm getting goosebumps just now telling you guys this because it was terrifying, and I immediately jumped into protective mode. Oh, where are you? What's your address? What's your phone number? And he kind of caught on to me, but he told me he was in Boulder. When I was like, Boulder? Why would you be in Boulder? You've been sending me mail for 16 years from Oregon, and now you're suddenly in Boulder calling me. Anyway, he hung the phone up when I'm trying to get information, and that was the phone call. Well, here's the scariest part. The next morning, I get to the LA Times on the newspaper on my front porch. It's 6, 7 in the morning. I flip the newspaper open, and there it is on the back side. It says, girl 6 slain in Boulder, Colorado. And I knew something serious had happened that night. I knew something serious had happened. I go, wow, he actually killed a girl. And that's when I called that number. Right then and there, I called that phone number. And I sat back, and, when you call the police, they're going to do something, right? I mean, that's their job. They investigate tips, right? And here's my solid gold tip. But I sit back, I'm telling my wife, any day they're going to arrest Gary, watch this, it's going to be incredible. And then all of a sudden, like every day would go by, and there's no phone call. I mean, the police never followed up. So after 3 months, I called them a second time. And I said, look, I need to tell you, I've got a really good lead for the John. Now I knew her name was JonBenét, and I said, I've got a lead for the JonBenét murder. And they said, okay, let me put you through to the JonBenét line, quote unquote, the crazy person line, right? Because by now, thousands of people had called, who knows, my tip got buried in there. Who knows what happened? I'm still thinking Gary's going to be arrested any day. You talked about John Mark Carr earlier. And let me tell you something. I knew when John Mark Carr got arrested, I knew that I was like, what is this? I mean, I know Gary did this. I know who killed JonBenét.
So never any response from police. You make the initial call, you make the second call. Did they ever get back to you?
No, the Boulder police never contacted me until the TV show 48 Hours and Lou Smith followed up. And actually, Alex Hunter, the district attorney for Boulder, Colorado at the time, drove out to my apartment in Ventura. And I gave him evidence of some of those scary things that Gary had mailed me over the years. We're talking handwriting samples. We're talking hair from missing kids posters, really scary stuff that he had started sending me. What I forgot to tell you is that over the 16 years, the things he had sent me got darker and darker until it was like including tape recordings where he's simulating a rape of a child and really horrible things like that. So, yeah, it was getting pretty scary. And then 96 happened, and I knew that he had done something very serious.
So when do you get a letter where because over the phone, I would consider that a confession too, right? I hurt this girl, he says he's in Boulder, right? So that's one part. When do you start getting letters or the letter where he purports to confess to the murder itself?
Right. It's an interesting story because in May of 2016, I had enough. I had found Gary's Pinterest page. It was basically a trophy page to JonBenét. There was 65 photos of JonBenét in there, and I just went livid. So I thought, what can I do to help this case along? What can I do? And here it was 2016. So I wrote I have a friend who's an FBI agent, sent her a 3-page email. She said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. within a month, Gary was arrested, and he's got a undetermined sentence. And he's still in prison.
And still in prison now. I mean, the guy clearly has issues and has problems. And the question is he the one responsible for all of this? So you get the letter from him. What do you do with the letters once he starts confessing to you through these letters?
No, the way that happened is that within a month he was arrested, and I was like, oh wow, it was like a backpack full of rocks. It was like relief. I finally was free from worrying about Gary loose in society. It was the best feeling in the world. And I thought that was enough. That's what I needed, right? And then, but what happened was somebody said, hey, why don't you write Gary a letter and ask him what he did that night? Or tell me. And I said, that's a brilliant idea. So I started sending Gary's letters. To my surprise, he started sending them back. And I tried everything to try to get him to talk about his life and just about everything, about how this got to this point, you know, and about JonBenét and his obsession with JonBenét. We talked about every detail. And then, what happened is I couldn't get enough details from the letters, so I had him start to call me on the telephone. And I'm recording those calls.
Now, Michael, I understand that you just got another letter today.
Oh, yeah.
From Gary Oliva?
Yeah, matter of fact, I do have a letter still sealed right here. It's dated July 31st.
Do you mind opening it and tell us what Gary has to say tonight?
I sure do. I sure do. And I got to tell you, we've got some amazing details coming up. We have a new private investigator that's working with us, and it's really helping this case along. I'm very excited. Okay, so I'm opening this, as you can see. I'm sorry, I should have done that on the... Okay, this is a very, very detailed letter. I haven't reviewed this, but as you can see, let me just approve this, make sure it's okay. It says generosity brings psychological benefits. It's some clipping from it's interesting, you know, the things that he sent me. And now he's kind of changed his handwriting even more, and he writes very small. And, you know, I'll spare you guys. I won't read this to you, but it's been quite a journey for 27 years trying to keep
just
this
give us
guy
a small
out.
flavor of what he wrote, if you could read a couple lines from it.
In the garden, there are patches where others have dumped things of little value that need clearing out and tilled ready for planting, that are patches where no matter one tries to grow, a surface then dies. It never takes hold. Needs the right nutrients. That's where the patches are. That things never get planted at the right time. So you must keep replanting. So it's just bizarre.
Bizarre stuff. But, I mean, this case is still unsolved. There's a purported confession here. Now, this is what I want to do, Michael. I want you to stand by, because what we're doing here tonight is taking some of the letters that you've provided, and there's the original ransom note in the JonBenét case, which everyone believes the killer wrote, right? So we're going to compare the handwriting from the letters. Got some experts coming on in the next segment. We'll take a look at that. And then I know you have that list, okay? I'm going to get to the lists. Before we finish here this hour, we're going to get to your list as well. So Michael Vail, former classmate of Gary Oliva, staying with us. We're going to compare those letters. We've got a lot to get to. Plus, coming up next hour.
In Nassau, in the Bahamas, a love triangle and divorce turned into an alleged murder-for-hire plot. Lindsay Shiver is accused of cheating on her husband, then soliciting a third man with her lover to kill her husband, Robert. We are live in the Bahamas with the latest.
Lindsay, you want to say anything about the allegations? Any message to Robert or the boys?
You hire a hitman. You tried to hire a hitman to kill your husband, Robert.